Well, look what the cat dragged in. Joe Biggs and Jakari Jackson were just in there in the control room. Joe says he's totally exhausted. We're going to get him in here at the bottom of the hour and then let them enjoy their Thanksgiving. You know, when I look at Joe or Jakari, I don't see a white guy and a black guy that are good buddies and like to work together. I just see two people that want freedom. I just see two great reporters. Like when I look out there and I see Nico Acosta and, you know, our other folks out there like CJ and Richard, I don't see white guys or Hispanic guys. I just see people that do a great job. But I guess that's because I'm a racist. Anyways, the Democratic Party wants you to identify racially. And that's why they're stirring up stuff all over the country, whether the Brown was shot for a good reason or not. And when a cop shoots somebody in the wrong, we go, yeah, a cop shot him in the wrong. And the evidence isn't there. I like due process, folks. I've had people accuse me of a lot of stuff I didn't do. People lie. I mean, the cop may be a big jerk. There's a video they claim is him. It's a Ferguson cop threatening, you know, going, I'll basically crack you over the head because you're videotaping me. So maybe he is a little spoiled brat, coward thug. I don't know. But so maybe he's a little spoiled brat. And maybe Brown was a big, mean thug. That's what it looks like to me. Let's go to Steve. No. Mac's up first. Mac, thanks for holding. You're on the air. Then Steve.
Hey, Alex. A big howdy to you from FEMA Region 4 here. I disagree with you a little bit on 2 points I've heard so far today. And the first, I'm really not trying to be legalistic, but the term terrorist being thrown around for these criminals in Ferguson, I think sets a dangerous precedent that, you know, going to call for a lot of this military action on the streets and a lot more militarization of the police. And who knows, the next president we get or something like that, it may be you and me out there they're calling terrorists.
No. Listen, I'm the guy that from day one said the Patriot Act will be used on non-terror-related cases. It's going to define everything as terrorism to then use things outside of the legal system to come after you. But then when people, listen, it is the definition of terrorism to shoot at firefighters. That is meant to create fear and terrorize folks. So under that, they could be charged, but they don't need to be. They can be charged with attempted murder. So I get what you're saying, and I totally agree with you.
Number two thing I disagree with. And on a little bit lighter note, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to you, and I'm not really sure that you're not Bill Hicks.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not. I'm just with you.
What do you think about Texas Monthly, like, doing a whole report on it?
I don't know. I think it's good fodder out there. You know, it gets you a lot of listeners on YouTube and things like that. So I wouldn't fight it too much.
Well, I've already had like 3 or 4 times over the years. I'll be in a restaurant or at the grocery store, and it's like, Bill. And I'm sitting there ignoring it, and because, I mean, I'm not Bill. And then they go, hey, Alex. And I turn around and they go, oh, I was just seeing if you're Bill Hicks.
Besides, you're better looking than Bill anyway.
Oh, I used to be. I don't know. Back when I was Bill Hicks. I mean, it's just crazy. He may have some Welsh genetics or something. If you ever go up to the Welsh country, Wales and stuff, I mean, everybody kind of looks like me. I think those are the dominant genes here. But I look about as Gaelic as it gets, folks. And they'll go, he's gay. You know, people are so ignorant. But, I mean, I'm not Bill Hicks, ladies and gentlemen. He could look like a cousin, maybe. I mean, he had, like, dark brown hair. I got light brown hair now. I used to be blonde. I mean, it's just insane. But, you know, they're just going to say now they've almost got me. They've almost exposed me. Anything else?
Yeah, well, you know, I really feel sorry for the folks up there getting their places burned down. And I just want, you know, the listeners out there just be cautious about calling for more force. More force isn't necessarily the right thing in this situation.
Oh, man, we've got all this serious stuff to deal with. And a caller just brought this up. It's in the magazine, one of the biggest in the country. Texas Monthly is huge. A lot of Texans subscribe to it. And the headline is, the conspiracy theory that Alex Jones is actually legendary, long-dead Texas comedian Bill Hicks. And they tongue-in-cheek look at it like it could be true. We can scroll through it for TV viewers. We're going to post the article up on Infowars.com. This has been going on 5-6 years, and I know it annoys the family because their son's dead, and it's pretty painful to have this brought up. And it's just crazy. It's totally crazy. And it shows how people can latch on to something that's a real conspiracy theory. And then meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is not federal. And it's raping the country, sucking us dry. Foreign banks are looting us. They're shutting down our industrial base. Half the blacks get aborted in the country, but they're not rioting about that, which they should be, in my humble view, but over some guy that appears to be a thug. People, like Stalin said, evil genius that he was, one man is a martyr. One man's death is a tragedy. 10 million people's deaths is a statistic, basically. And it's just, you can have something that is so asinine that is just viral on the internet that I'm Bill Hicks. It's like the white supremacists with all this made-up stuff about me, lying about me constantly. I mean, it's just crazy. And by the way, if you knew how the web worked, idiots, it doesn't hurt me that you're doing all that. In this world of billions of websites and hundreds of millions of people posting every few minutes, all of your negative attacks only create more buzz. People say, who is this? I better check this out. So they come here to hear what we actually stand for. Not racism against blacks, racism against Asians, Jews, whites, Christians. I just want freedom. I'm not Islamophobic, but I don't support our government funding radical Islamicists. And then I got to get attacked by some of the radical Islamicists that I'm Arab or anti-Islam. Man, I'm just anti-tyranny. And it can come in any shape, form, or group. Now, that's where I stand. We told you they're preparing for riots of blacks at the Pentagon training. We show the videos. We show the documents in July in the articles that are up on Infowars.com. Flashback, U.S. Army training to fight black Americans. And then now it's happening. They don't have major regular Army units training, and all the role players are blacks in inner cities unless they're planning something. And then they know how to psyop and take this event and hype it and get folks all angry so that you're not angry about all the real stuff. That's what I'm saying here. Steve in New Jersey disagrees. He's on the air. Go ahead.
Bill, how's it going? I just want to say a couple things. The American people are tired of this tyranny, and it's not Michael Brown. There's countless other, police brutality. That black man who was strangled to death by those cops. I mean, the American people are sick of it, and this is the way they're going to show how sick and tired of it. And would you call the Patriots back when they dumped the Teen Harbor, would you call them terrorists?
They were attacking the direct company, East India, that had gotten the regulation passed outside of law to not let them import tea, and they had ships commanding British naval forces protecting them, seizing their legitimate cargoes being brought into Boston. And so what they did was a strategic, beautiful blow directly at the enemy, and I support the men that met at the Green Dragon and carried out that Tea Party. That is exactly what I explained. Do people even listen to what I'm saying? I said if blacks got mad at Planned Parenthood, founded to murder them, founded to exterminate their children, founded to carry out eugenics in their neighborhoods, I would say, well, you're really going after the folks that are running the show. Instead, oh, they love them because the Democrats tell them to on average. Same deal. If people who had their kids die from Factor 8 and Bayer, and there wasn't justice in that, and I'm not saying do this, but I would say, well, they hurt people and they weren't brought to justice. If something, but I wouldn't want to see a secretary at Bayer. How about whoever was in charge at the time who made that decision in those audio recordings and texts that came out in court that they said, so what if it's going to kill people? Ship it out. Those people need to be held accountable. You bet. You bet. But I look at the bigger issue. The globalists want to get a physical war going now before we peacefully hit critical mass and awaken the country to the globalist agenda. That's happening. So I said they would start a race war to trigger the rebellion that's coming, to make it racial in nature so we're not unified. They hijack waves of discontent. Julius Caesar said, there is a time in the affairs of men when taken at the flood leads on to fortune, an oft-quoted statement by here on the broadcast. It's actually William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, but he was quoting known historical statements of Julius Caesar, that you've got to catch fortune at the tide. There is a tide in the affairs of men when taken up the flood leads on to fortune. The globalists know that there is a tide of anger. People are trying to find answers. They want to sabotage it, make it racial, get us fighting with the police so they can call the military out, just like Katrina, to take the guns. Do you understand the PSYOP? Do you admit that I predicted all this? Do you admit we told you what was coming next? Do we get any respect for being right? Or what are you saying?
I agree with some of the points you're making, but at the same time, I mean, there's only so much people, American people can take. I mean, let's say we do wake up 9% of the population. What's going to happen then? I mean, there's going to be riots, there's going to be protests. The people protesting across the country aren't protesting for Michael Brown, they're protesting for a bigger cause, which is the militarization of our police.
Yeah, but two wrongs don't make a right, and this will cause more militarization of police because now they can show them being shot at and the armored vehicles protecting them. Let's expand on that. Let's expand on that. If police, like at Lexington and Concord, start firing first, it's called the shot heard round the world. So at Waco, the feds are all on video. In Waco Rules of Engagement, their own videos that came out in trial. And we're going to get more funding. It's going to be fun taking out these kooks. They could have picked up David Koresh any time in town. They said all these lies and exaggerations. I didn't like David Koresh, by the way, and studying it, but they didn't deserve to kill those babies is my point. They went out there to start their war against the American people, kicking it off against a good target, a bunch of religious weirdos in their view, hanging out in some compound. They pull up, they opened fire on record. The Davidians fired back against people trying to kill them, and under common law, that was their right. So then they sent in the Delta Force to murder everybody, and that's shameful. 1993, day 51. If you had a building full of black people and they were shot at first and they shot back, I would say, even if I didn't agree with whatever weird group they were part of, that they were in the right. That's why I stood up for the Davidians and have and know them well. So, again, you don't, because there's a suspicious shooting by a cop, you don't say, hey, we're going to get your family or we're going to kill other cops from the department. That's not how it works. Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, back when Michael Brown was shot, the protests and riots that followed, they exposed the militarization of police. And even the Obama administration said we need to look at this. So
even the Obama administration, who made sure they got the armored vehicles, they had bizarre training with them 2 years before in Ferguson and surrounding areas, they were gauging the crowd. They have computer models of who they think is going to have an uprising. This is a PSYOP, sir.
I understand it's a PSYOP, but let's give it to them. Let's give it to them harder than they think that they know it's coming.
If the rebels would have fired first at Lexington or Concord, we might not have had the moral high ground and lost the Revolutionary War. Do you understand? And I love people out there that have, I see it on the internet. Alex Jones says, take punishment, take abuse. That's what Christ did. That's what Gandhi did. At key points, it destroys the enemy when they are clearly the villain. It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi lets Darth Vader cut him in half. Why does he do that? Because he wants to inspire that next group. People just don't understand how the world really works. Look at Martin Luther King. He's a much greater man because he was nonviolent and was killed. Malcolm X started preaching nonviolence, so they killed him, hoping for uprisings. They want the uprisings. It's in PSYOP manuals that are declassified. I'm an expert on this. But you don't even have to be an expert. You can go become one. I appreciate your call, Steve. I know everybody's mad, but when the Civil War starts and you don't have gasoline or heating and Obama becomes a dictator, they win. And then you're going to celebrate 300,000 dead cops? That doesn't do anything to the globalist. That war criminal, Soros, will still be running around. Johnny in California, go ahead.
Yes, how you doing, Alex? Isn't the answer to tyranny 1776? I mean, we look at the Black Panther Party. They did try to do things peacefully, follow the amendments, right to bear arms. They were dismantled by the FBI, COINTELPRO. I mean, you look at if peace is the answer, then why don't we give up our guns now and just everybody lay down and let the next generation
That's
our
not the
legacy
answer.
of
That's not the answer. We get more guns. We get more ready. We educate people. We reach out to the police and military. We wake them up. We don't let us be played off against each other.
So we need to fight now. This is the time. Everybody's already organizing now. Everybody's ready to go now. Why aren't you calling for
right when I'm going to come back to you after break. This is so important. Don't hang up, Johnny. Folks, this is incredible. They picked a case where the guy was a thug. They picked a case where the system has the moral high ground. They picked a fake Lexington Concord. They picked Ferguson as a psyop. You notice the feds stood down and backed off in the Bundy Ranch because it didn't look right, a bunch of cowboys riding up against guys threatening to shoot them. They backed off there because it wasn't where they could win. This is a rigged deal. Stay there. I'm going to come back and explain it. A lot of people see this as a referendum of police being above the law. So, hey, let's go out and riot. That'll show them. No, that only bolsters the worst elements of the system that wants to control the police. I mean, I look at the board. It says, Johnny in California disagrees. Who was it I was just talking to? I want him to finish their statement. I'm going to go back to Johnny. James disagrees, says Alex is being racist. I'm going to him next. Then Bob in Montana, Richard in Ohio, Victor in California. I wanted people to hear the mentality, though, of folks that are angry. They sound like they're legitimately upset, but at the same time, they just don't have logic, in my view. That attacking Papa John's, a white lady who makes $12 an hour, I mean, does she deserve to be physically punched and attacked? Because she has a $12 an hour job? Or other cops standing, do they need to be shot at? See, they want to get us killing each other. It's so elementary. In fact, cue up for the next segment the James Bond clip from Russia with Love about the Siamese fighting fish. I'm going to try to explain this to people again. I know our general audience understands it. But the police actually were brainwashed that there was no New World Order, no foreign takeover, no police state coming. They now see it happening. They now are the easiest people next to the military to wake up. That's got the globalists worried. So they want to turn us against the police and military so that when Obama comes in with dictatorial decrees, which are already happening, maybe even becoming dictator, they can have their Democratic Party operatives stir up the inner cities, have folks attack the police so they'll go under federal control, begging for troops to come in. Then Obama, who's playing the part of the savior to his own rioters, can roll in as the savior. It's called a Hegelian dialectic. It's very sophisticated psyops. It's very simple at one level, but very sophisticated at another. And I understand a lot of police are corrupt and above the law. People are angry about it. I've made 4 police state films. But I saw this coming 1,000 miles away. It's now happening. And it's bad for everybody but the globalist. I don't care how much money you make, where you live, what color you are. This is bad. You're obviously listeners. Have you been listening is what I'm asking you. Can you want to go watch the July report I did, warning of all this unfolding? I can see what's next, what I would play if I was them. I study this. I'm not bragging. I know what I'm talking about. How many times do I have to be right? If all this kicks off into a real civil war, we're trying to stop it right now, I'm just keeping my head down, okay? I'm not going to be in the middle of this. This is all meant to bring in tyranny so they can come arrest me. I'm telling you. And go after Ron Paul and the real opposition to the globalist. You understand that? They want to twist things so they can bring in so much tyranny they can go after the real opposition. State governors and people like that want to stop this. The liberty movement has people everywhere, and the globalists know it and are scared. We're very close to taking the country back. Does that mean it'll be perfect? No, but we're close to getting groups of people in office that don't want to destroy the country, and that's a big improvement. I just got chills. I don't think I'm going to be able to stop it, though. God almighty. Go ahead, Johnny, and finish up.
Alex, then why are we not promoting for these people in these neighborhoods? Yeah, not to burn down these buildings and businesses. Go out there, bear arms, and stand right in front of the police station. Have arms. Everybody bear arms in the town and exercise their rights, just like they did in. Why don't we have a high noon situation? You're not promoting that.
Well, I'll say this. I don't think the Ferguson police are the Redcoats. I mean, okay, well, such a big, complex world now. I mean, what does... I mean, who would you target?
This country is founded on racism. Look at things what we're celebrating tomorrow. Thanksgiving. Oh, thanks to the natives for your land that we stole. I mean, come on, Alex. It's country has been founded on racism.
Sir, that's all really one-dimensional. I mean, on both sides of my family had family on the Mayflower. They were religious Protestants that wanted freedom and were looking for something. The Indians were the natives were constantly killing each other, trying to team up with different groups, just like whites were doing in Europe, the same behavior. So I don't lionize the Europeans. I don't lionize the natives and Squanto and the whole 9 yards. And most of the, they had a bunch of expeditions, Jamestown, you name it, that failed where everybody died or got eaten, got killed. So, I mean, to say, look what we celebrate tomorrow, the evil pilgrims, when it's I mean, do you really know what Native Americans did to each other? I mean, it was not like Hollywood says. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.